are you most excited about for EA UFC?
Today, the thing I'm most excited about is that this is the first time we're showing people anything from the game, and we're so early in development. Normally this far out, we wouldn't even be at E3 at this stage in development for any other game I've ever worked on. But so to be here already, and the quality of the stuff that we already have to show with the facial animation demo and the stuff here in this presentation, I'm stoked to just be showing people stuff for the first time. But as it relates to the longer term question, man, I mean, I've been watching UFC since UFC 1. I rented it on VHS at Blockbuster. VHS were these cassette things. Never mind. I've been a fan for a long time. My brother used to live in Japan and send me Pride tapes and stuff like that. So, man, to be working on a UFC game is I'm just excited to do that. And like Johnny Hendricks came through here and came up. I was like, what? It's like I'm excited about that stuff. And to hopefully make the best UFC game that's ever been made because of the power of next-gen technology and Ignite. I'm really excited about that opportunity.
When was the decision made to make it only a next-gen title?
I don't know that that's actually been hardcore confirmed. And if that decision does get made, I can tell you that it gets made way above my head.
Yeah.
I get marching orders on what game to make.
What you showed us about the weight of the fighters, like standing and shifting their weight, is incredible. Can you extrapolate on that?
Well, I mean, yeah, we talked about the precision movement system on EA Sports UFC, and obviously it's a big focus for all the EA Sports games, really true player motion and making sure that the players move around their arena of play in a believable way. It was always a problem on previous Fight Night games. The fighters skated and slid across the surface of the ring in a really unnatural way. And although it looked okay, ultimately things start to break down when there's like, he doesn't really look like he's planting his feet when he throws any of these punches, or he's not really moving like, Muhammad Ali or whoever. So a precision movement system that actually plants each foot in place and doesn't let the fighter move in a natural way or skate across the ring like they're playing on ice. It's just going to convey that sense of believable character movement in the octagon. And then, I'm sure as the mixed martial arts fans know, like, hey, if you don't have a solid base, like if you're fighting on skates, no disrespect to hockey, you're not transferring much power into your strikes. Like you need to have a solid base and transfer that stuff from your feet up through your hips and out, the end of whatever appendage you're using to attack your opponent, right? So being able to create that system in gameplay is just going to make everything look that much more realistic and authentic.
So we can't show it, but in the presentation we saw Anthony Pettis churning purple with Benson Henderson's rear naked choke.
Yep.
Tell us how you came to that.
I mean, it was high level. One of our early goals was, we said, feel the fight. We knew we were working with new technology, new hardware, and like, what can we do that we've never done before? And obviously, we're always looking for ways to like, well, how can we make, essentially these characters come to life in a way that we haven't done last time? That's what we're always trying to do in video games, is create more believable, more realistic, more authentic characters. And certainly with a game like UFC, where you only have two guys and you're much closer to the action than you are in a game like NBA or FIFA or Madden, and they're not covered up with pads and jerseys and all that sort of stuff. Things like dynamic skin discoloration and full body deformation were just kind of no-brainers. Like, hey, if we're going to make these guys look believable, they should move like human beings. They should look like organisms, not action figures. And then once people like myself, designers, say, hey, we should do this, then there's a bunch of really smart people that say, oh my God, they want to do that. Let's go figure out how to do it. Yeah. And then magically it happens. So it's amazing.
Awesome. Yeah. The blood and the face deformation is unbelievable. Can you talk to us how you decided that you wanted to see the 3D of the cuts? How dynamic will that be?
Well, I mean, we have lofty ambitions for sure, and again, it's very early, so specifics in terms of how dynamic or how interactive it's going to be. What I do know is that if you compare it to current gen, when you got a cut on your face, it was a red line, and then there was more red lines falling down. You saw in the image, there was actually some three-dimensionality to the depth of the cut, so like, I can't remember who the guy was that Vidor kicked in the head and he had the axe wound.
The hematoma?
Yeah, no, the big gash in his head. Or like, or the Diego Sanchez when he took a shin off the forehead. Like that was, that had depth instantly. And so we wanted to deliver that kind of visual quality, fidelity. So it's like, that looks like a real cut, not just some war paint and then some streaks, right? And as well, we want to do stuff like, hey, if the fighter's sweating and bleeding, there should be some commingling of those fluids. And this is a really weird conversation to have. But like, sometimes the lot of sweat gets in it, and it's kind of like watered down Kool-Aid. And sometimes he's pretty dry, so it's really thick and coagulated type looking. So we want to have that level of visual variety as well. As you know, hopefully when the fighter is actually aware of the damage on his face and he paws at it, well, it should move in reaction to that fighter interaction as well. Those are the things we want to do.
Move his hair out of the way.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can't, but it wouldn't be Benson Henderson if he's not.
Is it doing that automatically, or is that like a taunt button?
No, we're focusing on realistic fighter locomotion, and we know, hey, that's Benson Henderson. He moves his hair out of his way. It gets in his way, and he's got to move it. So we want to make it look like Benson Henderson. You got to throw those kind of things in there. So that's not a deliberate thing. We don't put it on the user to say, you better know when the hair's in your eyes, so get out of the way. That might be a bit too much. But we just, hey, if you're not doing anything else, then he'll just take a second to, I don't have to worry about it. But you know, he'll do that because he's Benson Henderson.
Will that be, so is the goal to give a unique characteristic like that to just about every fighter, or you only do it with a few of the stars?
We have to focus on the big ones, obviously, right? First, ideally, we'll get to everybody we can. But then, you know, there's not to disparage anybody, but there's some fighters that don't necessarily have anything that's all that, you know, totally unique about them because, hey, I'm a wrestler from Iowa that throws a big right hand, and we don't have to worry about a whole lot of details for that guy that's, you know, not a Benson Henderson or an Anderson Silva or a John Jones kind of thing. So we're definitely going to focus on the stars and take it as far down as we can.
A couple more. Is there going to be any between round, like fixing up your cuts or like a mini game?
We're not planning that at this time. It's just something I think we're pushing out to the future possibilities for the franchise.
As far as the limbs deforming, are you going to be able to snap a limb?
Well, there's two parts to that question, and probably neither of them I should answer, but I'll answer one of them. Okay. Snapping a limb, when we talk about like 3D characters and animation rigs, there are actually bones inside the animation rig of every character. I think if we actually broke that bone, like the computer would break, kind of thing. So we can't do that kind of breaking technologically of animatable bones inside the thing. Whether or not we do some simulations or visual simulations of, hey, you took that submission to its ultimate completion, we'll have to see where that goes as we go through development and whether or not those things pan out. But yeah, we're really early. But I know technologically speaking, animatable bones inside of a rig, right now we're not looking at trying to dynamically snap those in half because it's just bananas.